This is one exercise that I see people completely butcher. This movement, the one arm row, it's a great movement when done correctly, but if you get it wrong, it's not gonna do anything for you. So if you wanna get more bang for your buck, if you really wanna build a big back and a thick back, I'm gonna show you right here, right now. But before I do, I'm gonna show you the common mistakes that people do. This is what I see time and time again. So all I'm gonna say to you is don't do this, Guv'na. So let me show you the common mistakes. Check it out. First of all, they're in the wrong position. Their feet are in the wrong position. They're too closed. So what happens is the feet are too close together, all right? And now all of a sudden you've put your mechanics in a weird position. So what we wanna do is get some space, but here's the common mistake. What they do is they row, and then the weight hits the thigh, and that's a bad position to be in, all right? So that's one way to butcher the movement. Another way to butcher the exercise is pretending that you're trying to pull an old-fashioned lawnmower. You know those old-fashioned lawnmowers we pull like that? This is what people do over and over and over again. And what usually happens, the case is you're using too much weight. So what they do, second thing you butcher, swing it up, swing it up. And if I slow it down, watch the range of motion. Look at that, you're not even pulling, you're just twisting, all right? That's another thing that people do. Another thing that people do wrong, and they butcher it, is partial range of motion and not getting that full stretch. So they partial the rep with heavy, heavy loads, and again, they twist the body, all right? So those are some of the common mistakes that I see people doing. Another thing as well, one more thing that just came to my mind. Another thing they do wrong is they pull into the chest. Again, look at my shoulder, out of neutral. Bad position, don't do that, Guv'na. Let me show you the first thing I wanna do. I'm gonna get my feet in the right position. So this is what you wanna do, right? There's lots of variations of position. You can come across the bench, facing the lengthways. I like to get more stability here. Sometimes you can even go, if I'm using my left hand, I can have my right hand on the bench, okay? And then I can have my left leg out. This position here, you're thinking about a table. Right shoulder in line with the left shoulder, left hip, right hip in line. So let's line it up. There's your position. Right there. Now I'm stable. I can't go anywhere. So this is the first thing you want to do before you even lift up the weight, is get yourself in the right position. So here, this leg is out, all right? But be careful though, because what can happen here is if you're not in the right position, look at this left hip. The left hip is higher than my right hip. Bad position, so I want to get more square. All right, now, what you want to do when you're pulling the weight, instead of pulling to the chest, think about pulling the elbow into the pocket. Big difference. Now, as I do that, I can already feel my lats starting to fire. And a little contraction at the top, which we call an iso hold. Iso hold. 1, 2, 3. Iso hold. 1, 2, 3. Another thing as well, if you can't feel the stretch in the lat at that bottom position, what you can do, sometimes you can come in front of the body a little more and then pull that elbow into the pocket. Because I think what most people do wrong when they're doing this movement, what you're thinking about is you're thinking about pulling that elbow as far back as you can, which is going to cause you to pull the dumbbell more into the chest. So just think about this. That's your position there, not that, because as you pull back the elbow, the body twists and the torso twists, okay? Now, if you look at the lats in an anatomy chart, in the lat, they kind of come across the back like this. They kind of go like that. So another thing I learned from Ben Pakulski, thanks for this tip, by the way, Ben. I've just started using this myself. Even after 26 years of lifting, you never stop learning, and neither should you. So, what I was doing here, what Ben got me doing, as I pull into the pocket, I'm gonna close the gap between my elbow and my torso. I'm gonna do that. Watch my elbow. Pocket, close the gap. So it's close. Just doing that little technique makes a whole change of difference in your back training. The only negative thing is, what I see is that you won't be able to lift as much weight. So again, like my old videos, sound like a broken record here, but my old videos I was saying, drop the ego, feel the muscle, challenge the muscle, and if you can't feel it, something's wrong. So don't go in the gym picking up the 150s. If you're Ronnie Coleman or Phil Heath, you can get away with it, because as I mentioned before, those guys look at a weight and they grow. But for the rest of us that aren't as genetically gifted as those gentlemen, then we got to do it right, and we got to train smart with muscle intelligence. So let's do it again. It's very tiring though, but so much bang for your buck. All right, let's get in the right position. Let's get nice and stable. Hip square, shoulders square. I'm gonna start out in front, and I'm gonna pull into the pocket, and I'm gonna close the gap. Goodness me, one. Control that eccentric. Close the gap. Brace the core. Mind muscle. Pull. Close the gap. Oh. That's only 40 pounds. Yeah, can I go a lot heavier? I could go heavier, but I won't be able to close that gap. So experiment with that, play around with that, get used to the range of motion, and as I mentioned earlier, screw the weight, man. Don't worry about the weight. You can still build a very impressive back, a very muscular back, just by connecting the dots and allowing the mind muscle connection to take over. Because here's the thing, here's the reality. You can't see your lats being worked, right? So it's like training a rear delt, you can't see it. So you have to envision the muscle in your mind's eye. See what I'm doing? Rowing, closing the gap. Same thing on the other side. So, yes, this is a unilateral movement, meaning you're working one side at a time, but I think this movement is very important if done right, if you want to develop lat thickness. So I would suggest that you do this probably in the middle or at the end of your routine. If you do at the end of the routine, the muscles are warmed up and you can get a very, very good mind-muscle connection. By the way, little tip as well, when I train back and when I tell my clients to train back, I like to pre-exhaust the back, meaning doing some type of pullover variation, which will really exhaust the lats. So when you go into your bigger compound movements, like the one-arm row as an example, it's ready to go, okay? Another tip, how you grip the dumbbell is important. Watch what my fingers do, check my thumb. I never hold onto a dumbbell traditionally, wrapping my thumb around the actual dumbbell. I like to actually have my thumb out of the movement. And what it does, you're treating your arm as a hook. And this will subconsciously sort of take the focus off the forearm and the bicep brachialis, okay? So that's the reason why I like not to use my thumb. And another thing I like to do with a heavier weight, I find if I hold it at the front of the dumbbell, I feel it a lot more in the lats. I don't know why, as opposed to putting my hand in the middle. So try that out, play around with it, get very proficient at it. Doesn't matter if you're 30, 40, 50, 60. If you work the form, work the technique, you can still make improvements as you age. I'm 42 and I'm putting on now more muscle than I ever have before, because I'm understanding now that as I'm not as strong, I'm slowing down the movements, I'm putting more time and attention onto the muscles, but at the same time I'm getting full range of motion and I'm connecting the dots between the muscle and my mind. And that is all you need to do. Ooh, goodness me. That's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you got some value from it. Like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel, tell a friend, leave a comment below, and I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you, Guv'na, on the next video. Cheerio.